Hello and welcome to the JR's Gaming Podcast, where we talk about the rise of Nintendo and what this great gaming franchise has in store for us in the future of gaming, and of course, the country from which it was born, Japan. Today, I'm not joined by Rowan Fern, guys, it's just me, the host, Judah Terry, and I am not joined by Rowan Fern because he's somewhere away at a beach in a 3 or 2 story cottage with his family, having the time of his life, while I'm down up here in the Midlands of the UK recording this podcast, and it's not looking so good. The weather in the UK has not been so good at all lately. It's been pretty rubbish. It's just been raining and horrible and sad. But so I'm hoping that Rowan Fern has had some good weather over on his beach holiday, because he's by the beach, and bad weather on the beach isn't exactly that good, because it's just windy, rain, and just, crap in a hole. But yeah, anyway, Rowan's on holiday for 2 weeks. We actually missed an episode last week, unfortunately, because I was busy and he was busy, and I forgot to prep an episode. So sorry about the miss out on an episode. But there's a lot in store for the podcast in the next coming weeks, because next week I'm not joined by Rowan Fern because he's still on holiday, the lucky guy, and I'm actually collaborating with another YouTuber. I may have already said his name, but I'm not going to say it just in case it's a surprise or something. But we're collaborating with another YouTuber, and he's also a Nintendo YouTuber, and he does Mario Kart videos. So that'll be a good interview. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully next weekend the episode should be airing. So keep your ears open for that. But today, guys, today's episode is going to be very different because I've not got Rowan Fern. So we're going to miss out a couple of the segments. We're going to miss out Game of the Week. We're going to miss out News of the Week and all that lot and the Japanese phrase. We're just going to have a talking point, which I'm going to talk on for a bit, for about 20 minutes, and then it'll be the end of the episode. So I'm just going to talk a bit about a list that's been put together on Wikipedia of games that are top selling on the 3DS. Now, the 3DS has been a massive part of Nintendo's history and foundation in the gaming franchise for Nintendo. You had the Game Boy, the NES, all those wicked consoles, and then you came out with the 3DS, or the Nintendo DS actually. The Nintendo DS Lite, I think, was the first sort of flip screen fun console, and then they brought out the 3DS, and the 3DS has always been a much loved console to my heart. The whole Nintendo DS thing has been a much loved console. So I did start off with a Nintendo DS Lite, and then I moved to a 3DS, which I've still got now, and I still play to this very day. And to kind of close off our talking of the 3DS, I decided I would do a round off of the top 12 games that have been put together. Top 12 best-selling games that have been put together in a list, and I want to discuss, if I agree with the list, if I think it should be there, or should it be higher or lower, and basically why it's got that high status and why I think it was successful. Every single game on this list I have played and know, so I can give my own experience. So first of all, we have the very first top-selling game. Let's start from the top. Is Mario Kart 7, and that has been the biggest best-selling game. It's right now the best-selling game for the 3DS, and it sold 18.97 million copies. These have been sold since it was released in 2011, December the 1st. And of course, the genre is racing, and it's such a fun game. I'm sorry, but Mario Kart has always been probably the top Nintendo game that everyone knows. It's like, oh, do you play Nintendo? And then they're just like, yeah, of course, I play a bit of Mario Kart, mate. And it's just like, yes, everyone knows what that is. So, yeah, definitely Mario Kart is probably always been a much loved game by everyone. I'm pretty sure everybody on this planet who has lived a life knows about Mario Kart or has played it. So, yeah, for the 3DS, they released Mario Kart 7, which was I'm not sure what the game before that. I think it was Mario Kart Wii or something, the game before that. But they released Mario Kart 7, and of course, this is not the only Mario Kart to come to the DS series. Mario Kart DS was one of the first. Yeah, I think it was the first Mario Kart game to come to the DS series. And Mario Kart DS, I have such good memories of. That was for the DS. That was for the Nintendo DS Lite, and that was basically your first sort of Mario Kart game for the DS series, and that was really fun. I remember playing that a lot. That was my first ever experience with Mario Kart. I didn't start off on the Wii like most people do. I actually started off on Mario Kart DS, and then of course I moved up the rankings to Mario Kart 7. And of course, to be honest, it's probably just more of the whole thing with memories being attached. But Mario Kart DS is more of my favourite game, just because of all the memories that are attached to it. So, but Mario Kart 7, I've got to say, it is a very fun game. They introduced for the first time the gliding ability, so you can like glide from cliff to cliff. If you're going off a ramp, you can like glide for a bit, and it's nothing too special, to be honest. I do think it's hyped up quite a bit when it was first released, but it's nothing too special. It's literally just like in old Mario Kart DS. It's just like when you go off a ramp, you kind of stay in the air for a bit, do a bit of tricks, and then you like hit the ground. It's just that you stay in the air for a bit longer with a glider. It's not exactly that special. I mean, it might be controversial what you think of it, but I don't think it's that special. They did introduce a few items. I think one of the most pointless items there, in my opinion, is the Tanuki leaf. So, you know, Tanuki Mario, of course, absolutely love him. He's a lovely character to play in Mario games, 3D games, 2D games, whatever you're doing. You can spin that tail around and whack that Goomba in the face and see it fall to the ground in pain and just cause utter destruction with your Tanuki tail. But in Mario Kart 7, I didn't think they need to kind of introduce the Tanuki leaf, because it was kind of out of place. Because basically, when you get the leaf, if you've not played Mario Kart 7, you get the leaf, like you do with another item block, you get out an item block, it's chosen, and then basically the Tanuki Mario leaf, all you do is press L and R, I think it is, to spin around. That's all you do. And if you happen to be near a driver passing by, you might just clip him over, and that's like all you can do. So, to be honest, it's the most pointless item, I think. It's not really that needed. You can't really do anything with it, apart from if you're near a driver. And if there's no drivers around, let's say you get it when you're in first place, and you are kind of stuck. Like, it's kind of annoying to just have this little tail spinning around, and then it just disappears. So, yeah, I do think that was quite pointless. They did introduce a few new items. And then the most silly item, I thought, it's just like they had the option of the Mario Kart 7. When they released this game, it was going to be a big game. It was the next up in the series, the one before Mario Kart 8. And they were like, right, we're gonna introduce a brand new item that's not been invented before in Mario. We're gonna introduce a new item. And they introduced the guy who had the option to choose anything. He could have chose absolutely anything. He just slapped a 7 in there. I was like, well, let's just put 7. Let's put all 7 items together. So it's just like a bit silly, to be honest. Like, he could have chosen anything. He could have been imaginative and said, why don't we have a cactus that shoots spikes at people when it's attached to the back of the car? Why don't we have lasers, electricity, Superman? You know, they could have had anything, but instead it was just like, right, we're just going to mash all the items together with one big 7. I was like, it's pretty pointless, to be honest. It's just like, you get the item, it's like, oh, I've got a 7. You choose the 7, it's just like, you get every single item, and it's just a bit pointless, to be honest. So, that is quite a funny thing. It does make me laugh to think that the guy who had the option probably was in a bit of a rush, and he's like, look, we'll just slam it all together, and we'll create the 7, and that is what will be Mario Kart 7 Special. So, it is a bit funny, to be honest. They do make me laugh a bit. But it's still a fun game, and I can see why it sold a lot of copies. I do think, though, most of these copies were bought because people had high expectations of what it was going to be like, because Mario Kart's always been a big, game. So when Mario Kart 7 was first released in 2011, December 1st, everyone's like immediately going to buy it because they want to try it out and see how it is to the other game. Not to say people probably enjoyed it any more or any less, but that's your opinion. Do let us know in the comments, or email us email us at jailsgaming135@gmail.com. Let us know, do you like this game and any of the other games that I'm about to bring up. So that's in first place. That's the most, right now, best-selling game of all time for the 3DS, Mario Kart 7. But in second place, we have, which quite surprised me actually, Pokemon X and Y. And that sold 16.65 million copies. And that was released in 2013, 2 years after Mario Kart 7. That's in second place. And this kind of made sense in a way, because Pokemon has always been a massive part. Basically, Pokemon owns a lot of shares in Nintendo. I think Nintendo probably does rely on Pokemon as a franchise. The whole Pokemon company working with Nintendo, they do literally rely. I think Pokemon. The Pokemon Company and Nintendo both rely on each other for quite a big amount of money and items, because Pokemon has always been, a massively loved franchise since it was, it started from Japan and then it made its way across the world. I think it then went to USA, and now it's just absolutely massive. And I'm really quite impressed with Pokemon, to be honest, how much they've kept up all this time. They've kept up. They've managed to keep up with the whole Pokemon franchise. We've gone from Pokemon, Yellow, to now Pokemon Sword and Shield for the Nintendo Switch. Pokemon has always been a much loved franchise, card game, and now it's like Nintendo's even got their own games of Pokemon. And that really did take off when Pokemon came to the Game Boy. So it was really... Pokemon is just really, really well loved throughout the whole Nintendo community. So I can see why Pokemon X and Y were sold out a lot. Now, Pokemon X and Y is actually one of my first ever 3DS games I touched. Actually, when I played Pokemon, I had Pokemon Y. I bought Pokemon Y for the 3DS, and when I got it, it was after Pokemon Sun and Moon had been released, but I still got Y first and X first because I wanted to try them out. And it is honestly, again, I'm probably being biased because memories are attached, but I loved it. I loved it to bits. It was very fun. And it was really innocent. And I loved it. It was very good. It was very good. Seeing the day it was released, it was 2013, and looking at the graphics and the storyline and the amount of things you can do in a Pokemon game, particularly X and Y, for a 3D game, is really good. And I've got a feeling this was one of the first 3D games, coming along with also a Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It's the first sort of 3D, Pokemon game, I think it was, because you went from Game Boy 2D to now 3D, and it really did take off big time. I may be wrong on that. There may have been a 3D one in between, but I'm pretty sure I think Pokemon X and Y was the first sort of 3D Pokemon, proper 3D sort of Pokemon game that you could play. So yeah, it sold really well, as most do. Pokemon games do sell really well. 16.65 million, and it's currently second place, and it is really fun. It's just the whole storyline. I'm not going to ruin it in case people haven't played it, just and they want to play it. But it's just really fun. You've got Team Flare, which are the bad guys, and then you've got to basically there's a whole load of lore, and you basically got to go and bust them up and stop them from ruining the world. And I kind of got emotional playing the game. It's got an emotional element to the story, and I've got Pokemon in that game, which are just very special to me because it was the first sort of 3D Pokemon game I got my hands on, and I loved it to bits. So yeah, definitely can see why it sold second, but it did still surprise me that it's the second most best-selling 3DS game as of right now, which is still quite shocking, to be honest. So I'm pretty glad about that, and I'm sure Pokemon Company is too. And to please Pokemon Company more, in third place, the third best-selling Nintendo 3DS game in the world is Pokemon Sun and Moon, with 16.29 million. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it wasn't in second place, because Pokemon Sun and Moon was really hyped up for quite a bit of time. And to be honest, I knew it would be on the first, top 12 on the list. This list is way larger. Looking in front of me, this list goes all the way to 54, but I'm not going to go that far because that's kind of just being silly. It's just like those games are kind of going off the charts then. So I've only done the top 12, which are the most important ones, I think, that we all would know and play. So yeah, Pokemon Sun and Moon, really fun. Definitely, they've bigged it up from X and Y. They've added more things, better graphics, definitely better graphics. Trying to think, they did. There was a few things about Pokemon Sun and Moon I didn't like as of compared to X and Y. For instance, in Sun and Moon, you've got this big festival place, and I preferred the switch screens. Like in Y and X, you had the switch screen, so you could switch from screen to screen, and so you could play Pokemon Ame. Then you could do the online talking, so you could choose players to trade with, battle with, who knows what with. That sounds wrong. You could call people and stuff. You had you could switch screens, right, on the bottom screen quite easily. You didn't need to do anything special. But as of Pokemon Sun and Moon, you have a Rotom. You have a Rotom that's transformed into a Pokedex, and it's kind of like your map. And then you click on that, and you open up your bag, and then you have to go into the festival plaza. And it's kind of annoying because the plaza, it's just like you have to walk around a big town, and it's just you send your Pokemon into these rides and stuff, and they get, I think, points or something. I've not really touched on it too much, but I didn't really like it. I wasn't really a fan. I preferred Pokemon X and Y their format of that. So to be honest, there's an example of old games being slightly better than the newer game. So yeah, definitely not my favourite, but I do like the graphics. I do like the things you can do, and it's a lot more smoother to play. And then Rowan, our co-host, who's on holiday right now, he said he actually preferred the smaller little body of of your character moving around, because in Pokemon X and Y you've got like a smaller little character with like a big head. I don't have to explain it. They're very different bodies, so it's not more smaller and a lot more compact. And then in Pokemon Sun and Moon, they've got a full-on humanoid body, and it's like, waving its arms around fluidly and running gently, and like they've made it a lot more human-like as to X and Y. X and Y is a bit more cartoonish, and Sun and Moon's a bit more realistic, a tad more realistic. And I think they they changed the body drastically, and I think people either liked that or didn't like it. I personally liked it. I don't really mind, to be honest, what the body's like of your character. But it's a cool game. I think it's good. I'm still working my way through Pokemon Moon, and it has got an annoying aspect to it, which is quite annoying. In X and Y, you had normal time, and in Pokemon Sun and Moon, in Moon for instance, when it's daytime in real life, it's nighttime in the game. I mean, it's nighttime in real life, it's daytime in the game, likewise hence. So it's really annoying. I don't really like it. I like playing in real time. I love real time games. They're pretty fun. But this game kind of pissed me off because I just didn't like it. I hated Pokemon being to like opposite real time. Like going on there in the night and it being daytime just annoyed me. Going on there in the daytime and it being nighttime just really annoyed me. I just didn't like it. So I do like Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I can see it was really hyped up and quite big for quite a long time, and it's probably still is played quite a lot. So yeah, I can see why it reached third place, and I can understand why it'd be on the chart. Another Pokemon game, fourth place, fourth best-selling game is Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I played Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, and in one way, it's similar to Pokemon X and Y. It sold 14.53 million copies and was released in 2014. And looking at the charts here, I think it came out 1 year after X and Y, because X and Y was released in 2013, and Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were released in 2014. But Pokemon Sun and Moon was released in 2016. But yet still Pokemon X and Y topped Pokemon Sun and Moon. But it also topped Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which quite surprises me, because this game didn't do that well as of compared to Pokemon X and Y and Sun and Moon. And I'm not sure why, to be honest, because it had a really good storyline, and it was quite fun. But I guess I don't know really why. People just preferred X and Y more. And then Pokemon Sun and Moon came out, of course, it was a lot more new. People were immediately drawn to it, like a moth to a flame, and bought it. So basically, I don't really know why it's ranked fourth best-selling game of all time for 3DS, which is really good. But as comparing it to other Pokemon games, which are up there on the charts as second and third, I'm not sure why. It's a bit of a mystery to me. But just people, I think, preferred X and Y over Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But still a fun game. I would definitely go recommend playing it. It's not that much different from X and Y, to be honest. And it still has the format switch screen, which pleases me. So yeah, go check that game out. Now, as we work our way down to the latter of the list, we've got in fifth place New Super Mario Bros. 2, and that sold out 13.41 million. Now, that was released in 2012. Now, you can never go wrong really with the Super Mario Bros. Game. Everyone loves Super Mario. Anyone who loves Nintendo has got to have played Super Mario and has got to at least love Super Mario, because Super Mario is just almost like a mascot. I think he is a mascot for Nintendo. He's been a major support to Nintendo and a major game Nintendo have always kind of hyped up and sold. So yes, I knew Super Mario Bros. Would be on here, and New Super Mario Bros. 2. It's a really good game. I've played it. They introduced a coin rush option. It's just your general Super Mario Bros. Game. If I'm honest, you go through worlds. Yeah, it gets harder. Different biomes. You defeat different characters, and then save Peach at the end, and it's all fine and dandy. And you have a little exclusive at the end, like a little exclusive land, which you have to get stars for. The star coins, you collect them, and then you just go in and unlock them with that, which can be quite annoying. So remember to collect your star coins, guys, when you're playing New Super Mario Bros. The only thing about this game, which is quite funny, and it is a bit of a muck-up if I'm honest, is New Super Mario Bros. It's called New Super Mario Bros. It's called New. And I don't know why they called it that, because they kind of stuck, because it's not new anymore. This was released in 2012, New Super Mario Bros. 2, and it is now 2022, so it's no longer new, is it? It's, in a way, it's old. They kind of stuck with the brand name. I never really knew why it's been called New Super Mario Bros. And I've always taken the piss out of it with Rome, because it is quite funny, to be honest. But not too sure on why it is called New, but it is. And it's not exactly new, but it is really fun. I would recommend going and playing it. They've added a coin rush element, and I can see why it's sold out quite a lot. It was very fun, and it's 5th place out of all best-selling games, and you can't go wrong with the Super Mario Bros. Game. It's it for your partner or your child, your mum, your dad. It's just really fun. It's a really fun game, so I would definitely recommend playing it, and I can see why it's 5th place on the list. Now, 6th place is probably my personal favourite. It is my personal favourite game, and I don't know why it's any further at the top, because this game, to me, I think is it's one of the best games in the world, and it's one of the most successful simulation game franchises, and that is Animal Crossing New Leaf. That is 6th place. It's 6th best-selling game. I'm surprised, to be honest. Pokemon have managed to top Animal Crossing, and so has New Super Mario Bros, which has really shocked me. I thought Animal Crossing would have sold more than New Super Mario Bros, but Animal Crossing, in fact, sold out 13.2 million copies, and New Super Mario Bros only was, I think, 40 away. It was 13.41 million. Animal Crossing New Leaf, I can definitely see why it's on the top 12 list. I can definitely agree with it being on the top 12 list, because it is such a fun game. Oh my days, I have so much memories attached to this game, playing with my friends, and it's just such a fun game. You can connect with people, play with other people, or just play by yourself. It's very stress relieving. Animal Crossing, you definitely probably do know what it is if you're listening to this podcast. It's basically where you design your own island, and you live with other animal characters. It's real time simulation. You basically grow trees, catch bugs, fish, sell it to get a bigger house. It's got a good style to it. It's unique to Animal Crossing. It's a good style, and it's just such a fun game. Such a stress relieving game as well. It's very fun. And in COVID, a lot of people played it because you could connect with people, go around each other's islands, and just have fun when you can go and see people in real life. The whole social distancing the thing in place. So the Animal Crossing New Horizons was released at the time of COVID as well, which kind of was very convenient. Animal Crossing New Leaf was the game, second best Animal Crossing game in the world before New Horizons. It's got differences as well, but it's not as good as New Horizons, I don't think. But it still is definitely a top game for the 3DS, and definitely one you should have in your 3DS game collection. And it is my my personal favourite of all time, if I'm honest. So and it sold out 13.02 million copies as of November 8th, 2012, when it was released. But then in 2015, or was it 2016, they updated it to welcome Amiibo, and that basically opened up a lot more doors, because they opened up styles for your homes, for you to decorate, that were like, Monster Hunter, Splatoon, many different other game styles, but it was all through Amiibo. So you had the little ghost called Whisper. He got through a lamp, and you could basically, with him, you could bring Amiibos to the island. I also think they introduced the cat machine. You could collect cat tickets, which you spent in the campfire area, and you can buy special items from there. Now, in 7th place, underneath Animal Crossing, 7th best-selling game for the 3DS is Super Mario 3D Land. Super Mario 3D Land. And that sold 12.86 million copies. And to be honest, this was a Nintendo verified game, Nintendo certified game, whatever it is. It was given the seal of approval by Nintendo, meaning they loved it, or whatever it was. The golden little thing you get on some of the games, as was Animal Crossing. That's it, Nintendo Selects. It was given the Nintendo Selects approval, as did New Super Mario Bros. 2 and Animal Crossing New Leaf and Mario Kart 7. They all got the Nintendo Selects It was basically a select game by Nintendo for one of the best games. And Super Mario 3D Land is one of the very fun it's been given a nomination for the best 3D Mario handheld game, because it was, for the 3DS, you could just pop out your 3DS and play a 3D Mario game which wasn't available before. So that when this was released, it was kind of big because you couldn't place a 3D Mario game anywhere else apart from Mario 64, which was on the NES, I think. So basically, Super Mario 3D Land, it was a big game changer, and so it's definitely earns its place here on 7th place on the best-selling games. It sold out 12.86 million, and it is a really fun game. I've played it, and it was fun. I've completed it all. It definitely gets very challenging towards the end, but it's very cute little game style. You can just work your way through the worlds. You can beat Mario and Luigi quite easily, and you can when you complete one set of the worlds, they switch it around, and you have to go through a pipe, and you kind of complete the same worlds but different style. The same biomes but different style, and it's really fun. It's a really fun game. If you like Mario, you like competitive playing, then definitely get this game, and you probably have played it. So, that is 7th place. And now in 8th place, beneath Super Mario 3D Land, is Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS, and that sold 9.64 million. Now, this game, Super Smash Bros., has been around for quite a long time, and it's basically a game where you get multiple characters from different games and just put them together and have a big smash, have a big fight. And I think it came out on the Wii first, and then it came to the 3DS. It did do not as well as the Wii, I think, and but it definitely did quite well on the 3DS because it's made it to 8th place, and it's really fun. It's a really fun game. I'd highly recommend it. I play it, and I have played it in the past. It's really fun. You don't need to have any instructions. You just grab it and then start mashing the buttons together like Rowan says and just beat everyone up. But there is a technique to it. You do need to kind of learn techniques and fight each other. But it's basically one of the best fighting games out there for the 3DS that it has to offer. There's a lot of good fighting games that 3DS has to offer, but this is probably one of the best. So definitely go and play it. I love this game. And probably not my favourite, but I do play it now and again when I need to, when I'm bored, when I need to let out a bit of steam and smash and get a Mewtwo and smash up a Mario. But there's also a really good feature about this game is that you can actually change the colour on your characters, which I really do like. And they've also brought Amiibo into it as well, so you can also have Amiibo features being brought into the game to get exclusive items. So yeah, it definitely earned its place on this list. And now, the one below this is number 9 on the list, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. Now, I'll put my hands in the air. I've never played Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. So this sold out 9.12 million copies. And I don't know quite what to think, to be honest, because I did do some research on it and I couldn't find much to say how different it was. If it's different at all, but please, if you listening right now have played Pokemon Sun and Moon all through, and you've also played Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon all through, please write in and tell us the difference at jrsgaming135@gmail.com. Please let us know what is the difference, because all I've done is played Pokemon Moon, Ryan's played Pokemon Sun, and we don't know what's the difference between Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, because I don't know if the story's any more significantly different, and I've not had the balls to buy it in case it's literally the same game. So it's quite a mystery, to be honest, why it's on the top 12. I don't know why, to be honest, but I can see why. I can actually see why it is actually, yeah, because it's a Pokemon game and everyone loves Pokemon, so of course they're going to go and buy it. So, but I can see how, because Pokemon Sun and Moon are the main sort of characters pulling the shares here, so that was definitely going to be best-selling, because it was released first. And Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I guess, people of course went and bought it, and then they were like, hang on a second, Pokemon Sun and Moon are probably better because it is the original. And I can't really know what I'm saying right now because I can't really talk from experience. I don't really know. I've not played Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and I don't really know the difference, and I'm quite intrigued to know. Now, number 10, I can definitely see why this is on the top 12. It's a super fun game. Yokai Watch 2. That sold out 6.92 million. Now, this game is really fun. I've played it. I absolutely loved it. It's basically, Japanese folklore, and they're bringing it to life a bit. So yokai, or, it's pronounced in Japanese, yokai. It's a Japanese monster or ghost or demon, and it's basically, in Japanese folklore, you have these, these characters, these monsters that play out a big role in the upbringing of children and just life in Japan. Like, I think there's one yokai, for instance, that will terrorise the children if they don't obey their parents. It is pretty sketchy, to be honest, and I'm pretty glad I wasn't brought up in Japan, because I don't want to be terrified by these yokai monsters. But I think it's all linked to the whole religion of Japan as well. I think it's Shintoism, and yokai is a very spiritual sort of monster. There's good ones and there's bad ones, and they all have different roles in life. And it's basically Yokai Watch 2. They've kind of made it more fun, and they've made it so you can actually catch yokai. And if you've been watching the Yokai Watch anime, which I've not actually, but I know there's one out there, it's about this dude who has a watch, and with his Yokai Watch, you can see yokai and capture them and battle with them, and there's loads of yokai to catch. It's, in one way, it's similar to Pokemon, but it's very different. It's very different style. It's not copying Pokemon, to be honest, at all. But there is a similarity, as there is with all of these sort of monster fighting games. But Yokai Watch 2 are probably my favourite thing about this game, is the sheer detail they put into this game, the beauty and the detail, the size of the map. The map, in one sense, is even better than X and Y, I want to say, because there is so much to explore, so much to do, and it's all kind of based on Japan. So you've got it's beautiful, shrines, the contrast between the countryside, the beach, and the city. The sound effects. It's really, really beautifully done. It's to real time as well. So if you're playing in the daytime, it'll be it's not real time actually. My bad. It's got like a real time clock on it though. So it's daytime, night time. Once you complete the story, it's far from over. There's still a lot more to do, and basically, there's loads of stuff you can collect online as well. So they produce these coins, collector coins, yokai coins, basically, and you scan the QR code on the back, and you can get an exclusive yokai. So once you've done that, you get exclusive yokai, and you can then train that up, and it's probably going to be rarer than the other yokai that you get in the game. And you don't have to buy them anymore, because there's actually a dude, a YouTuber called Abdullah Smash. Shout out to Abdullah Smash, who does some great Nintendo content. And he did a whole series where he played through Yokai Watch Fleshy Souls, Yokai Watch Bony Spirits, and he basically got all the QR codes in videos. He's got every single item, so just click on one of his videos and get what you need in the game. But I can definitely see why it's 10th place. It's a really fun game, and I honestly can't recommend it any more, to be honest. It's really fun. Definitely go and buy it if you haven't already. You will have fun. And there is also a Yokai Watch 3, which is mysteriously not on the list. I think it is on the list of 54, but on the top 12, it's not made it to the top 12, unfortunately. I've not played it, and it's quite hard to get hold of, so I have to see what I can do. But Yokai Watch 2 is definitely a really fun game. Absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend it. And I can see why it's 10th place. It's definitely very fun. And a lot of people actually did send into the JR's Gaming podcast, I think it was Instagram and messages, because we talked about it a while back, Yokai Watch. They were sending in they're talking about how they wanted to know if the Yokai Watch 3, I think it was Yokai Watch game on Nintendo Switch that has come out, if there's a version available in English. And unfortunately there's not, because quite angrily for me, Yokai Watch, they released a game for the Nintendo Switch, but only in Japan, so you can't get it anywhere else. But I can only hope and pray that they bring it to English, because at the moment it's not looking like it. But anyway, definitely go play it. It's a really fun game. And now, number 11, beneath Yokai Watch, I can definitely see why this one's on the list. It's really fun. Tomodachi Life, 6.71 million. Honestly, I'm a bit sad it's not any higher than 11. I'm a bit sad it's 11th place. I would think it was at least 6th or 5th place. It's a really fun game. and it did really well. It was released on December 13th, 2014, and it's basically a simulation game where you create, similar to The Sims, but it's all in your classic Nintendo Mii form, and it's got its own unique style of playing. That in a way is better to The Sims, that outranks The Sims, in my opinion. And basically, you create your family, your friends, and you grow this island, Tomodachi Life, and you grow this island, and they become married, they can have fights, they become best friends. You basically just create all your friends, all your family, and just watch what happens. Just watch literally whatever the hell happens. And there's a lot more to it just than that. There's shops and there's different things you can do. Design, songs and cafes, and there's lots and loads of things. You're basically opening up your own little island, and it's just such a fun, humorous little game. I would definitely highly recommend getting it if you want your spirits lifted a little bit and just have a laugh with your family. Now, last but not least on this list, number 12 at the very bottom, with 6.47 million sold, is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Now, the co-host to this podcast, Rowan Fern, if you've been listening for quite some time, you probably know this already, but this is one of his favourite games, and I can see why. It is really pretty fun, to be honest. We're now delving into the kind of not so important games now, as we reach number 12 and then go on to 13, 14, 15, etc., which I won't be going on to because we've not got enough time for all of that. But I haven't anyway. But Luigi's Mansion is basically, the classic Luigi running around a mansion, discovering items, trying to save someone, and then he's being attacked by ghosts, and he uses Poltergeist 3000 or whatever it is, Red Hoover thing, to suck them up. And funny enough, I don't actually own a copy of this game, but I have played it for a bit, and it is pretty fun. It's really well designed, there's a lot of details to it, and Dark Moon is kind of like the more up-to-date version, the latest up-to-date version for the 3DS, and it's basically, you go around, and there's some scary ghosts in there, I can't lie. But it's really fun, all in all, and just explore a big haunted mansion. And if you like a bit of spook, a bit of scare, and a bit of fun, and you like a bit of Mario as well, definitely play this game. It's a bit fun. I enjoy it, but it's not my favourite game. And I probably will get a copy one day, because Ryan will probably bully me till I get it, because it's fun. But that's all for today, guys. That is the top 12 best-selling games as of right now for the 3DS. And it's a shame they don't make 3DS games anymore. They've focused all on the Switch at the moment. But honestly, guys, it's been a different episode today. It's been a bit different. We've not done the usual format, going through things and talking about games and whatnot with Rowan. It's just been me today, just been my voice. So thanks for putting up with my voice and me today. And I'll be back here next week, hopefully, with a collaboration episode, which is going to be something to look forward to. And hopefully the next week after that, we're going to have Rowan back on the podcast, which I'm sure you all want, because you probably miss him to death, and he probably misses you guys to death. Probably. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's all for today. Please send in your questions and comments to jrsgaming135@gmail.com. Please subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening from, and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, as this will help us greatly and get the podcast around. Our socials will be in the description: our Instagram, our YouTube, our Twitter, website, and Discord. But until then, it's a goodbye from me.